Pew, one of the most famous polling sort of data centers, they poll all around the world, released their latest video game survey find, which they come out every few years. The one that they were focusing on, at least in this article, was that men and women report that they play video games basically equally at 50 and 48%. That was the big one, and this was a survey of 2,000 adults this summer, which is a pretty good sample size. If you know about statistics, 2,000, that's pretty respectable for a sample size. Men, though, were more than twice as likely, at 15%, than women at 6%, to call themselves quote-unquote gamers, to identify as a gamer, which is interesting. It goes back to our conversation about a month or two back about identifying as a gamer versus not.
Right.
Survey also found that 60% of adults believe that most people who play video games are men, so slightly more than the ones that said they play video games, and that included 57% of women who themselves said they play games. And that's very interesting. So there is sort of this more a stereotype, but a leaning or skewing that men play video games more than women,
right,
which we'll get into if that's true or not. And then 33% of 18 to 29-year-olds said that the term quote-unquote gamer was an apt one to describe them. 3 times more likely than women of that age group, only 9% who said the same. That's pretty significant. And there's a lot more. We can run down some of these. But I think it's interesting. But you got to remember, there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics, one of my favorite quotes ever. Because you really have to drill down and look at what these terms mean and what they mean in terms of the gaming market. And one of the biggest, not problems, but one of the sort of, I guess, shortcomings of a study like that is it doesn't ask people, what platforms they game on. What do they actually game on? I think if you drill down, you would see a lot more stark differences between men and women, for better or for worse. Because in terms of like gaming, everyone has a phone at this point. Almost everyone has a game on their phone they play. It's just cool. It's convenient. Whether it's a strategy game, whether it's tower defense, whether it's all those commercials, Game of War, or just Candy Crush. Everyone plays video games.
Right.
It's older people play video games on their phones. Everyone does it. Something to pass the time, whether you're on the train, on the toilet, or both at the same time. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, the definition, I think, of playing games, that's too loose. I think a study like this would have benefited from, I think, tighter definitions. And maybe it had that, but this article does not state what those definitions were. Do you play games? Does that incorporate a certain number of hours a week that you play? What like you said, what platforms do you play on? Now, I have been hearing for a couple of years through other studies, and I can't source them now, that it is just about equal. I mean, this is not the first time that I've heard that the number of women who play games is just about equal to men. And this is something that I've heard in the past 3 to 4 years on a number of occasions. But it's never with a fully disclosed what's the word I'm looking? Jesus Christ.
Drill down of the data.
Yeah, like what's the questionnaire?
Yeah.
What's going into it?
Yeah, do they check any of them? So say the questions, this goes back to my small statistical background. It could be a catch-all. It could be like, do you play games on your on like whatever? At this point, you can even say like, your Amazon Fire or whatever, on your tablet, on your phone, PC, console. It'll be like PS4 or PS3 or Wii or Wii U. So it can be that if you just checked one of those, you're a gamer, and that's it. And then you get put in that pile of you're a gamer without breaking down the data from there. Depends on how the questions were phrased and what the choices were. It's very important when you're looking at any study like this. Not to say that it's not important that women play games just as much as men. It's just in terms of the market, though. What's the market share, and where is that market share? AAA titles, I would not go on a big limb and say AAA titles are still probably going to be predominantly men. You're talking about Call of Duty franchises, you're talking about Madden, you're talking about sports titles. Your majority will probably be men that are purchasing those and playing those. I don't think that's going out on a big limb with that.
I think it just depends on the type of title. Let me put it, I'll phrase it this way. You might not be wrong about that, but I think in terms of console gaming, I think if we eliminate the mobile market entirely, and I think if you just look at console gaming, and I just take my very small corner of the United States, and I look at what people come in and buy and play, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's 40-60. Maybe not 50-50, but
On
40-60.
AAA titles in general?
Just various big name titles for...
I'm talking about the big money makers. I'm talking about the Madden franchises, Call of Duty, the GTA 5. I'm talking about the ones that these are the money movers.
Sure, I guess it depends on, like, for instance, I almost feel like at this point I sell more RPGs to women than I do men. But on the other hand, yeah, if I'm selling a sports title or a Call of Duty, it's probably 85% of the time it's to a guy.
And that's the importance of this, just because if you cannot use statistics to sort of nudge the market in the direction you want to go, whether it's a political point or social point, you have to understand where this takes place, the gaming. I think that's important. Obviously, it's still important that there's an equal amount gaming, but it's just if they're doing it in different areas, then it doesn't say as much as you would want it to.
Basically, you don't get any fucking usable marketing made out of this.
You get nothing. And then that's not what this is for. Pew doesn't usually care about it. Pew just does the study, and then the results can probably be sold from there anywhere else.
We don't get any social data out of this. All we get is a number. And yes, it does show that gaming in general, because who doesn't fucking like fun, is going to be about this. Is going to be about.
To me, this is the same. To me, this is the same as, do you enjoy watching movies? Half the people say yes that are women, and half are men. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is the same thing. There's some people that don't like movies, believe it or not. The same way there's people that don't like to read. There's you don't necessarily have to like it all the time. Different parts of it.
All right, so why are we talking about this anymore? It's dumb.
It's not dumb. I just think be careful. I'm just saying out there, be careful when you see stuff like this.
Okay, this is a cautionary tale.
It's a cautionary tale.
Okay, great. We're moving.
We can talk about the 40% are unsure if most video games portray women poorly. There's stuff like that in here too. That's interesting. Point by point, but.
Yeah, but those numbers are so low and so much of it is undecided that I don't think it really says anything either, because there's the race question, there's the women question. I don't think that this study really shows much of a goddamn thing.
You in the comments decide the answer.
Dick, go check out that poll and tell me if you get anything from it.